Hello and welcome to the ThriveMind Studio Podcast. I'm Karen Finstad, CXO of Techni Innovations. ThriveMind is a space for reflection and care, designed to meet you where you are and support your growth. This podcast brings that spirit to life through grounded human conversations. Today, our host, Courtney Finstad, sits down with Karen Hurley, leadership coach and trainer, and founder of Coaching with a Karen, for a thoughtful conversation about living with intention, embracing change, and discovering what truly matters. Together, they explore how purpose, curiosity, and simple daily practices can help us create a more meaningful life. Later in the episode, we're joined by Micah Schwader, strategic partner and founder of The Art of Discernment, for a conversation about storytelling, creativity, and how AI can be used as a tool to amplify, not replace, our unique human voice. This episode is sponsored by Calypso Publishing, proudly amplifying stories rooted in purpose, growth, and impact. Courtney, the mic is yours.
I am here in the ThriveMind Studio Podcast with Karen Hurley. She is a founder and coach, and she has worked with individuals of all types. And today we're going to have a conversation about some of her work, a little bit of her book, and other things that are revealing themselves in her life right now and what that looks like. So Karen, welcome to the ThriveMind Studio Podcast. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Courtney. I'm excited to be here. I know that we've been trying to set this up for a little while, and so I appreciate us getting together and just having a fun conversation today.
I hope it will be fun. This is great. So I guess on the topic of fun, what is feeling fun in your life right now?
You know, I have a lot of freedom in my schedule right now. You know, with summertime, it's been really great to be able to not travel as much and actually have time in my home. I'm doing some renovations in my house, and so I've been doing that for 6 months. It shouldn't have taken that long.
Never. I think a lot of people can relate to that.
And so it's kind of nice to have something that has been in the works for 6 months be complete.
Yeah. Congratulations on that. And I know you have a lot going on in your professional world, and I was hopeful that you would share with us a little bit about your journey and how it led you to today.
You know, it's really interesting because I just participated in an anthology called Six Figure Chicks, and it's with 17 other women, and it talks about really the last 10 years of my life and how I got to this moment right now. And it was really through a series of bricks and shifts that got me to move across the country, to really start to take care of myself, to focus on learning something new. So I ended up going back to school. And so I had this huge transition really in the last 10 years. And it's fun to see how it's never too late to just be like, I'm up for another adventure.
Oh, so much of that spirit lives within me as well. And I think our audience can feel into that in a lot of ways. I mean, transition is a part of life, and it can feel really hard when you're in it, when you're in the messy middle or limbo or this liminal space. You know, tunnel vision can sneak in. Sometimes it's just trying to survive, right? So we have all of these basic needs and tendencies, and how we nurture those is really important. But when you can treat maybe something like that, or a shift like that in your life or transitional period, like an adventure, all of a sudden things open up a little bit.
Yes.
So that's what I'm hearing when you share that. And I'm curious what that sense of adventure means to you and what has opened up in your life.
Well, it's funny because I didn't live very intentionally. I didn't even know what that meant. And so that is something that I teach when I work with groups and individuals, as being very intentional and understanding what we want in our lives. And oftentimes we start with what we don't want. And it's very difficult to figure that out because most of us are just doing hand-to-hand combat and living and trying to figure it out as we go along. So for me to have circumstances that just gave me the opportunity to sit there and figure out what my next steps were going to be. And then other things that were really great is I had some people that had come into my life and helped teach me what I now teach. And I knew things like I wanted to go back to school. At the time, I was working with lawyers and I thought, well, I don't want to go to law school, don't want to be a lawyer. I've worked in, for, and around lawyers for 25 years. And I'm like, I don't want to get an MBA and I'm not really good at math, So I was
We share that. Yeah.
and so it was always in the back of my mind, but life was just going at a really fast pace and it wasn't necessarily about me and what I wanted to do. I also had a folder of like articles and things that I had seen about being of service, donating my time. And I had a really big job and career and I traveled a lot. And so here I am where I've married those two things. So I went to school to become a spiritual life coach and spent 3.5 years in school. And it was really through doing my work that I started to understand I can have more adventures. And that's where I started to do things that I thought, this is crazy. Who does that?
Crazy is good. I think that that sense of delusional craziness like allows us to lead a life that's more unconventional, that is not what society's telling us to do. There's so many times people it brings in a lot of doubt actually when there's that tension or conflict there. So when you say crazy, it really isn't crazy, right? But it's something within you telling you this is right for you. It's that inner knowing. And so we talked about intention, intentional living. What does that mean to you?
So I actually write a monthly intention now, and I have been doing that for years. So most of the time we think about goals or mission statements. That's the world that I always came from, being in corporate America. I also was a salesperson for many years. So I would get my yearly goals and we'd try to figure out how we would meet those.
Right.
But intention, specifically spiritual intention, there are 4 parts to it. So there is a formula to it. But it's really, where do I want to see myself, not on a yearly basis? So another thing we typically do is some people do New Year's resolutions. And what we see is oftentimes those fail, right? Gym memberships go up in January and then by March, they're just taking your money.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And so I do it monthly. Go ahead.
No,
I was just going to say that I do it monthly because it just keeps me really focused. And it's those little goals and intentions that by the end of the year, you can see how far you have come. And so I do it monthly and I kind of take a look at what's going on in my life for the month. And I see where things may not have been completed from the month before and then where I want it to go. So I look at that and I literally write it down on a 3x5 index card and I keep it on my nightstand and I read it before I go to bed every single night.
So you shared there are 4 steps. Could we go through those for those who are listening today that might be helpful in their lives?
Yes. So the first step is desire, intention, right? You have to want it. And so for me, it always starts out, it is my heartfelt desire. because it's a
Yeah.
little deeper, right? I'm using what I really want in my life, and it's a desire. It's a little bit deeper than a want, but you can start off anywhere you are, right? I want.
Could we also call it a longing? Like
Yes.
if someone
Well,
relates to that word, or how would
I
you phrase
would,
that?
but I think longing feels like it's outside of you.
Or harder to
So,
grasp? Is that fair to
yes,
say?
like you're chasing that.
Yeah.
Where
So
desire feels like it's grounded in me.
mhm.
So, I wouldn't necessarily utilize that word because it feels like it would be harder to attain.
Okay. So for folks with this desire, you have acknowledged it's a deeper knowing within, that this is something. What about folks who maybe aren't there yet? They don't know their own desires. Where could we
Yeah, I start with what do you want,
there
right? When oftentimes it starts with what I don't want, and that's okay, right?
Yep,
Okay, we don't want this. Then through the process of elimination, right? Okay, and the reframing, it's like, okay, well, what about this, right? And
yeah,
sometimes you don't know until you hear it because this is a practice.
right. I love
So that's
that.
why having a coach is sometimes helpful, right? Because they can hear what you're not saying or
Yeah,
maybe what you intend to say.
exactly. Okay, so step 1, everyone, we have this deep desire to maybe be or do something, right?
Mhm.
And then what occurs there? You write it
So,
down, you
yes.
yep.
And so I start off with simplicity, right? Because this is a practice and then you can always add on to it.
Mhm.
For me, I use threes, so typically I will look at the different areas of my life. So it's my heartfelt desire to, and then I will look at, like I said, what I've done in the past and what I'm going for. And
Mm,
I'll pretty much list like 3 things.
3 is a good number.
Because it seems attainable and it addresses a couple of areas of my life.
I love that.
And so that's where it's like, okay, what do you want to do? And
Mhm,
then you put those down. And then the next step is what are you going to do?
mhm.
So it's by, yeah, that's the preposition that you use is by. So based upon the things that you want to do, by doing what?
Mhm.
And so then you focus on the actions that you're actually going to take in order to accomplish what you want to do.
Yep.
And it seems really easy, but I spent 2 years doing this in school, and it was really hard in the beginning.
That's a
Now it's
beautiful
easy for me.
practice. Yeah. Well, to know what one wants, that deep desire within, without the external noise of others' input, feedback, suggestions, criticism, judgment. I mean, like you name it, right? And then your own inner judge of I should or should not be doing this. You got to remove all of that for it to be really true to you. And
Yes.
so there are layers of this before this actual practice, and that's okay too. But this practice is quite simple, like sitting with yourself, maybe daily for a few minutes. What do I really want without anyone else or the input of culture or society? What is it I truly desire? And then what steps would it take? So then what? What's next?
And then the last step is really the important one, and I think we typically leave out, and it's for the purpose of.
Yeah, I love that.
And so when I first started out, it was, shallower.
Uh-huh.
That's just how this works, is that we're taught to just kind of be pretty shallow. We're not that deep. And
Yeah, so for the purpose of, or like maybe in service of, or something like that.
yeah, well, sometimes for the purpose of service
Yeah.
will be, in the beginning, I wanted to fit into a red dress. I was like, I want to fit into this red dress, because the more specific you are, the more you can see if you're actually attaining it. But again, being specific is not something that we're taught either. And
Mhm.
so again, a coach, right? It's like you really want to drill down, but it's a process. It took me years to get there.
Yeah.
And I actually fit in the red dress,
Nice.
but it was a little shallow,
Right.
you know? So now a lot of times, because one of the reasons I got here was through a cancer diagnosis. And it was at that point where I always say it's not because I was afraid to die. It was more a really big pause for me to figure out, how did I want to live?
Mm. Yes.
And if I didn't get that big pause, I would have just rubbed some dirt on it and kept doing what I was doing. And it was substantial. And I really started to think, well, when you take away everything that you use to distract yourself,
Mm.
it gets uncomfortable. You
Yeah,
got to
really
sit with
quick.
yourself.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I did go to really unhealthy coping mechanisms at some point, because
Mm.
I sat in judgment of myself. I sat in shame of, like, how did I get cancer? I know that sounds very unloving.
Mm.
Um,
It sounds
but it was,
very human.
thank you.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, logically, I'm like, you don't catch cancer, but there was a
Mhm.
level of, it was out of order.
Yeah.
Meaning my parents ended up taking care of me. And I'm like, I should be taking care of them with their health, right? And I moved into gratitude
Mm.
of, thank goodness, one, they wanted to help me, right? Two, they were in a place in their life that they could come in. They literally moved in with me for several months while I went through weekly chemo treatments.
Mm.
And it shifted everything in our family dynamics too, because I, in the past, was the professional helper. So to actually need help was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so that's where it shifted from fitting into the red dress to, I want radiant and vibrant health.
That is so beautiful. And thank you for sharing that part of your journey. That must have been really hard. And I can sense, just feeling into your words, how hard that shift was and how uncomfortable it was to receive the love and care that you really needed during that time. It's so hard for us to ask for help when we need it. We're supposed to be strong and independent. And if we're not, we're weak and we're a failure, and that's just not true. And I think this message that I'm hearing from you today, and I hope that others hear too, is to receive the support when you need it, to ask for help when you need it. It truly is life-changing. It can be so beneficial for your way forward. And I think that's something to keep in mind if you're out there and you're feeling into this story and you're having a similar health issue or transition. Support is necessary. Nothing productive comes from isolation or being in a state of sensing into your own shame without someone else to help you along and help you heal and guide you out of that place. And that's why, coaching is so beneficial. And then there is a spiritual part of that too, that I know you mentioned is so important in your life. And I wanted to touch on that spiritual side of things and what that means to you in your life and how it's led you to today.
Yes. And I wanted to just follow up with something else, just to
Sure.
really make sure that people understand that it's not just us individually, because when I went
Yeah.
through cancer treatment, what I saw that was really interesting is that some of the people that I thought were going to be around weren't. And then other people stepped up in ways that I was surprised. And so for those that want to support other people, what I would get is, let me know what you need. Well, when you're literally, fighting for your life, that you don't know what you need.
No.
And it's putting that responsibility on the person. And so I just offer to people is always my number one recommendation is food. You have to eat. So, because we often want to do something and we don't know what to do.
Right.
So we do nothing. We leave it up to the person, right? And I'm like, food, even if it's a gift card.
Yeah.
I'm like, food could, you want to prepare something, that's great because somebody can always put it in the freezer. But I'm like, even just like a gift card to a grocery store.
Yeah, so
Because
helpful.
somebody needs a DoorDash, right? Somebody always needs sustenance.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just the ownership on us, but it's also for those that want to support others and don't know what to do. So we do nothing and we don't even address it because we're uncomfortable.
Right. Right. And that's stopping us from even engaging further,
Exactly.
which happens in a lot of areas of our life, distractions and running away. But you make a great point. Mealtrain.com is also a wonderful support system where you can just have meals sent to the home or collect people to do that. I did that for my parents when I was taking care of them too. It was so, so helpful. Just a little thing, just something. But food is wonderful. Homemade or not, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. Because it's just something that if you can take that decision off somebody's plate, right? It means a lot. And you feel good, right? You feel like you're contributing. And I think most of us want to contribute. We just don't know what to do.
Yeah, I love that. So within your journey, this spiritual part has been a big part of it. How has that evolved and what does it look like in your own spiritual practice right now?
Well, what was so funny is I had no spiritual practice. I had no idea what that was. I was just, bossing. I was very
You were a boss
successful.
babe.
Yeah, whatever that means.
Still are.
Yeah, but it was really like, and I was, like I said, there was something inside of me that was like, I don't know. And I've been circling it, right? Trying to understand. I'm originally from Chicago. So Oprah Winfrey has a huge influence in my life because, when she started her show back in the 80s, it was like, oh my God, there's something in our neck of the woods, right? And so I've actually been to the Oprah show and saw a taping. And so I had a lot of influences through that. But it wasn't until, like I said, I had time to really sit there and think about what I wanted to do. And so one of the women that is on the Oprah network is Iyanla Van Zandt. And she has a show called Fix My Life. And I had watched that. I was a professional wrester for about a year. So I watched a lot of TV and I had known about the show. And I saw that she was doing a workshop because I lived in the area where she's at. And I decided to take the workshop, and it was called Wonder Woman Weekend. And it was the most profound experience that I had. And it was very unusual, but it felt like, this is interesting. I subsequently learned that she has a school called the Inner Visions Institute of Spiritual Development. And they were just enrolling for another class. And I had about 3 weeks to get an application in place. And so I was nervous that I wouldn't have the because it's a 2-year program. It's very experiential. It's changed since COVID. But it's interesting when you're really determined and have a heartfelt desire. And the deadline was difficult, but I did it. And I ended up going into this program, and I sat there thinking, why am I here? But it just seemed interesting to me. And I'm that kind of person that just keep showing up. That's like my superpower is
I love that.
perseverance.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was just so odd to me because I had no, a lot of times people think about spirituality and they go to religion.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I teach also that's a way you can practice your spirituality. But I was in this school with all these other students, and a lot of them had come from religious backgrounds, not all, and they were undoing some of that.
Sure.
But I sat there like, I don't know what I literally said to Ian Levan Zant, who is this huge spiritual person in the world, very famous. I said, I have no idea why I'm here.
I absolutely love this for so many reasons. And I hear perseverance, but I also hear you were pulling on things that interested you. Okay.
Mhm.
And that is not random, right? When I think about purpose and purpose work and what I do to evolve purpose with my clients and in that realm, it's about pulling on these threads, right? That seem random at the time, maybe, but there's still something directing you there.
Yeah.
And so something within you felt this impulse to join this thing. You didn't know why or at the time, but now looking back, do you have an answer of what that meant to you and why that felt so necessary? Yeah. Tell
Yes,
me about that.
well, because what's really interesting is the work that I do now through my coaching business, coaching with a Karen. Because first of all, I can not deny my name nor what I look like, right? And we need to have a sense of humor. Because
And by the way, folks, she's not your typical Karen. So when you think about a Karen, she's not the one that we're putting memes out there about.
well, I've worked really hard to not be, and I continue to work really hard not to be.
Yeah.
Because I think I was at some point, right? I could be, just
Mhm.
like a lot of us. It could be a side of us.
Yep.
But it's really understanding that you don't know what everything is for. And once you start to follow the inkling, the intuition, the thought, you start to see, of course, this is exactly what I should be doing. And I also needed people that gave me permission because
Yeah.
we often don't give ourselves permission to dream the dream or to take the chance to do
Right.
something differently. So having other people support me along this, and sometimes it was really, I needed to hear it hard
Yeah.
because I couldn't receive it soft. And so one of my faculty advisors, God bless her, Reverend Lydia, I love her so much, but she's like, Karen, get off the cross. We need the wood. That's,
Oh, that's a good
yes.
one. Yeah.
And I needed to hear that
Yeah.
because there was a level of getting stuck in stuff.
Mhm.
And that's why finding the person and the people in your life, because now I'm gentler with myself, so I can be gentler with other people and not be a Karen.
Mhm.
And I can be a Karen. I also know that sometimes you got to pull her out. There's a time and a place for that too.
Some would call that the shadow self, perhaps.
Yes.
Or
Or
maybe even
maybe,
the inner judge or critic or something's there, right? Like we always have maybe that not so lovely version of ourselves that can be sneaky, right? That maybe doesn't feel true to our authentic person, but it's there. It can be there.
and sometimes you need to advocate for yourself.
Right. Yeah. And so that
And it's
strength of
not
that can come through.
right. Sometimes you need to stick up for yourself and advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
Because also spirituality, sometimes when people hear that word, they think you're just sitting around cross-legged, saying Om all the time.
No.
And that's not it either, right? That's why going back to the spiritual intention, it's by what are you doing, right?
Mhm.
Because you actually have to do stuff. This is not just magical thinking that we're like, oh, I just heartfelt desire gonna do this. That's not how
Mhm.
this works either. You have to be an active participant in your life.
Yeah. Yes. And the other thing I'm hearing from our conversation today is to have the right support system in place for that to evolve and to um, feel lifted, right? To feel supported. Like you said, like sometimes we need another person to give us permission to do these things that we deeply feel as a desire to do. But if someone else doesn't encourage that, then there are parts of us, the shame, the doubt, the self-worth issues, whatever we were told as a child, all of these things are sneaking in and saying, no, you can't do that. And
Right.
then one person, the right support person, could change your way of thinking. And that's why I think coaching is so powerful, and therapy as well. Any therapeutic models like that to say, hey, why not? You deserve to have your deepest desires met and fulfill them. And that is your purpose, to fulfill those deepest desires. That is part of your purpose. And so I love the very simple approach of what do I desire? What are the actions that I need to take in order to have this come true? And then in purpose of what? So even as you're listening today, maybe take a few minutes to just draft something. It doesn't I love the one of my colleagues said having permission to speak in draft. And I bring that back into not only my own world but in my conversations with others. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to know the right steps right now. But what maybe comes out on the page initially could be true, or you could come back to it and ask the question does this feel true? And then tweak it. And so using that as a draft. But I love that example that you shared today to tap into that deeper knowing and how it leads us and evolves into something that is truly meaningful. And it sounds like you've been able to do that in your life and now help others do the same.
Exactly. And, it's interesting because I love that about the draft because I write in pencil.
There you go. Yeah.
I started to write in pencil
That's great. Yeah.
because you can erase it. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay. So always permission to speak in draft, to write in draft. We are imperfect human beings. There's no actual sense of perfection that is perfect in and of itself. To just start exploring your purpose in this way, what really draws you to pull on your own heartstrings, to pull on things that interest you that may seem random. They're not. So start to think about those things. And hopefully, this conversation with Karen today has helped support you in that way. And then also identify some people in your life that feel really supportive. And that's the difference. It may not be a family member or a friend. And so if it feels like you're being judged or criticized with a certain person or you can't speak your truth, then it may be something outside of your network in a form of coaching. So if any of this resonates with you today, Karen and I are both coaches. Karen, how can people find you?
The easiest way is through LinkedIn. You can just follow me. I post quite a bit. I give tips and tricks. And then, of course, I have my website that has my monthly blog and newsletter. It's coachingwithakaren.com. But yeah, it's just, and remember to have some fun, celebrate all the
Yeah.
wins because
Yeah.
life is here to have some fun too.
Yes, I love that sense of fun and adventure. Even within uncertainty, pull on the threads that feel fun, inspiring, and it'll get the ball rolling. And we definitely invite you to also check out the ThriveMind self-care companion app, which we're building to be a supportive system and network so that you can come and enjoy some practices like meditation. Even recipes are on there, and to create a space of mindfulness and bringing in intention for whatever you want to bring into life right now. So, Karen, thank you so much for joining us today. I so appreciate our conversation and hope that all of you out there start to just whittle away at this question of, you know, what do I really desire and how do I make it happen and purpose of what? So thank you,
Thank
Karen.
It's been fun, Courtney. Thanks for having me.
It's been really fun. Have a great one. Take good care, everyone.
In today's sponsor spotlight, we're excited to welcome Micah Schwader with Calypso Publishing and founder of The Art of Discernment for a conversation that challenges the way we think about AI, creativity, and storytelling. Together, we explore why your voice is your greatest asset, how AI can amplify, not replace, human creativity, and why learning to tell your story may be one of the most valuable skills of the future. We also preview From Prompt to Powerful, an upcoming course designed to help writers, entrepreneurs, speakers, and creators harness AI with greater confidence, clarity, and purpose. We're going to start with the big idea. Everyone is talking about AI. Why are you talking about storytelling?
Well, in AI, one of the big things that's happening with AI is this idea that it's going to take over humanity. And storytelling is such a huge part of the human experience from the beginning of time that it's a way to help people see that they're bringing the creative part to the AI. AI isn't good at creating. AI is good at stringing words together that make sense in response to a prompt, but it's not creating something out of thin air. It's been trained to do what it does. Where the human experience is, they're using their inspiration, they're using their instinct, they're using the creative process of their brain to take a possibility and manifest it. And so when you combine the two, when you can really get very clear on the prompts and what the creative process is and how it works and how it can benefit the process, and you bring it with AI, AI has the power to coalesce those thoughts and coalesce those things, kind of like the left brain does versus the right brain, then you have a powerful tool working with creativity instead of relying on AI to be creative. And I think that's a big difference in what most people are talking about. Most people are selling prompts or they're, talking about AI in terms of how it's going to change our world or take jobs away. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I was talking with someone and she's been using AI in a project. And someone said to her, well, if you're using AI to do the coding for your project, then you're taking a job away. And she said, no, I'm not. I'm giving myself a job. I'm using AI to help me code something that I'm creating in order to present it to the world. So I'm not taking somebody else's job away, the coder. I'm learning to become a coder using AI, and I'm giving myself a job. So that was an interesting perspective. And so storytelling and creativity and learning how to be a better storyteller with the tool of an AI is something that most people aren't talking about.
Do you think AI is making writers better or just faster?
I think both, actually. I think the reason why I say that is if you are using the tool correctly, and again, I emphasize AI is a tool, and I'm only talking right now about large language models. I'm not talking about what AI is used in terms of image generation or coding or anything like that. I'm talking about word usage with AI. But AI can make you a better writer because what you're doing by using AI is you're actually training AI of who you are. So when you put in better prompts around what you want as an output, you're training AI. When you put in information about yourself and how you write and your narration and your style and your voice, you're training AI. And AI then as the tool becomes a reflection of your input. It can go off and do its own thing. And so you have to be very specific about the container you want it to work with. But it's not going to know any better until you tell it what it is that you want. So it's a little bit of both. It can help you become better at asking questions, and it can also help you become better at being creative because it's, again, not going to be able to create without your input. So it's a little bit of both. But I see for myself, it's definitely made me a better writer because now I see how a lot of times I'll put my writing in and I'll go, oh, wow, that's a better way of saying it. I'm still saying the same thing and it's my idea, it's my creativity, but it reframes it in a way that the left brain would if I was editing it. But I don't have to edit it because it's doing that work. I don't use AI for creating. I'm talking about taking something that you've created and refining it. That's a difference. And, there's a lot of discussion in the publishing world about using AI to create books. But we have a program named Grammarly, and that is AI. So ChatGPT is another form of using AI to refine and make the writing and your creativity improve.
What's the biggest mistake people make when they first start using AI?
The biggest mistake is that people think that AI is smarter than them. And so they assume that if they just put a mediocre input prompt in, that they're going to get this amazing answer. And when you do that, the less input you put in, the more vague it is or mediocre, or you don't know what you're asking, then you're going to get responses that reflect that. So a lot of people come to AI, and I've heard it over and over again. Oh, AI, it's completely wrong about everything. It does its own thing, whatever. There's a whole skepticism around what AI can do for a person. And it's garbage in, garbage out. So what you're putting in and how you ask the questions of AI is going to determine what comes back out. And so I did that same thing. When I first sat down to use ChatGPT a couple of years ago, it was crappy answers because I was putting crappy prompts in. I had to get better at it. In fact, I'll give you the example of it. When I first started using it for editing, I would say keeping the voice and style of the narrator, edit this for grammar, punctuation, and flow. And it would always just go do its own thing. It would be like probably about 30% accurate. Not very, I'm maybe even exaggerating that. It might even be less. When I changed one word, which was maintaining versus keeping, because keeping has other definitions, when I used that one word change, then it started doing what I was asking it to do and what I expected it to do. So how you put your prompts in is so critical. And now I put in what I want, what I don't want, how I want it to reflect, what I want to keep, what I don't want to add. I'm very specific in both what I want and what I don't want, because otherwise it will do something different than what I expect.
Who is this course really for?
This is really for anybody who wants to become a better writer, because and not only a better writer, the way they become a better writer is to become a better storyteller. Because what I've learned in writing is the most effective writing for transformational writing specifically is storytelling. if you just give people information, they're not going to retain it in the same way when you can paint a picture for them, and in their brain, they have the image, and then their body feels the sensory aspects of it and the emotional aspects of it. So storytelling is what makes writing transformational. So if you become a better storyteller, you're going to become better, more effective at communicating what it is you want. And again, AI is the tool that helps to refine that and polish it. And then you become overall a better writer. So anybody who wants to be writing, and that could be an entrepreneur writing about how to grow a business. It could be a healer writing about their methods. It could be any kind of writing. It doesn't have to be a specific genre. What you're learning is storytelling. Now, the best marketing is storytelling marketing. There's books about it. So how do you become a better storyteller will make you better in your business. It'll make you better in your healing. It'll make you better in any aspect of your life if you want to become a writer.
When someone finishes this course, what do you hope has changed for them?
Well, there's a lot there. One is they'll be a writer. They will have finished chapter or started a book or some aspect, an essay or a speech, because it's for speakers too. How to become a better storyteller as a speaker from the stage starts with how to tell a story in your writing. So it's for all aspects of that. So they'll have a finished draft of some type of writing. In addition to that, because storytelling is so transformational, when you learn how to tell a story and you really go into those stream of consciousness writing and you're in that flow, you'll also have, and this has been proven, subconscious thoughts rise to the surface when you're doing stream of consciousness writing. So there's always been, every time I've ever worked with a client, there's always been transformation through the process of writing. So you can transform your beliefs, you can transform your way of doing things, your process. There's always been transformation of some sort when people really are able to become those storytellers. Because storytelling really, when you're in that stream of consciousness, where you really get into the flow is when you tell stories, because it's such a part of our human nature, because it's been part of humanity since we could draw pictures on the walls of caves. So storytelling is such a deep part of us that when you become really good at it, it's going to change your life. So learning that aspect of storytelling it will change you, and it will change whatever it is you're working on, whether it's a business, a relationship, or whatever it is. It's going to be helping you see the world in a different way.
Thank you, Micah, for joining us and sharing the important work being done at Calypso Publishing. To learn more about the class or schedule a free consultation, scan the QR code or visit calypsopub.com.
Thank you for spending this time with us on the ThriveMind Studio Podcast. We're deeply grateful to our guests for sharing their voices and lived experience, and to our host, Courtney Finstad, for holding space with such care and presence. This episode is sponsored by Calypso Publishing and proudly produced by Techne Innovations. The ThriveMind app is now available for download on both iOS and Android platforms. And wherever you are on your journey, we hope this conversation meets you right where you are.